Thank you, Mr. Bradley. The I Touch the Future Recognition Award has been developed to recognize former employees and Board of Education members of the Nazareth Area School District. All individuals that have at one time been an employee of the school district and/or members of the Board of Education are eligible for recognition under this award. The following are a few examples of why an individual shall be considered: involved in activities that result in significant enrichment of the educational experience of students, inspire and encourage students of the Nazareth Area School District to demonstrate creativity and innovation, demonstrate activities that are a significant reinforcement of our mission and goals of the Nazareth Area School District, demonstrate extraordinary leadership and exemplify commitment to academics, athletics, and the arts, foster and maintain exceptional communication with students, parents, faculty, and staff, as well as others in the community, and receive a nomination for a special award from another organization. The committee that selects the individuals that you will be introduced to this evening consists of the Board of Education Personnel Committee, the Superintendent, one Central Office Administrator, 2 Building Administrators, and representatives from the Senior Class Executive Council. So with that, it is my privilege to introduce you to our first recipient this evening, and that is Mr. Harry G. Adams. So Mr. Adams, if you would come up and stand next to me for a moment, please. In 2012, Mr. Adams received the Mayor's Award for his citizenship in service to our borough. And here's the letter that we received for his nomination. Excuse me. To whom it may concern, I would like to place in nomination the name of Harry G. Adams of Nazareth for the Nazareth School District Award, I Touch the Future. In addition, I have enclosed an article that I received the night at council when Harry was honored as the 2012 Mayor's Award for Citizens in Service to our borough. I would like to add a few other contributions he has made to not only the students of Nazareth, but many other schools during his tenure as honorary advisor to the K-Kids program at Schaefer Elementary School, where he spent many days talking with students about patriotism, teaching them how to honor their flag and how it was to be folded, respect to our national anthem, and the Pledge of Allegiance. He has been a guest speaker at many schools teaching what patriotism means. If there was any one person of that generation, I don't know what generation they're talking about here, that deserves to be honored, it would be Harry G. Adams, who to this day continues his contributions to the community. Signed, just a friend of a great patriot. P.S. He also served a 6-year term on Nazareth School Board from 1971 to 1977. So with that, it is my honor to give Harry our first I've Touched the Future award this evening. That's for you. And if you would like to say a few words, Harry, only a few. I know you're a man of many, but few this evening. So you're welcome to say a few words to the board.
Thank you for this distinguished award. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, I'll take you fishing to Alaska.
Okay, we'll go. Congratulations again, Mr. Adams. Our second recipient was nominated by one of our staff members, Celia Zuba, and we were able to convince her today to come up and read her nomination in reference to Mr. Mark Atwood. He is a retired gifted teacher and former science teacher here at the school district. My understanding is Mark is on vacation with his grandchildren, but his wonderful wife, Linda, is here. So Linda and Cecilia, if you would come up, I'd be honored. Thank you.
Thank you. To wear glasses now. I wrote, "Dear Dr. Riker, it is with much enthusiasm that I would like to nominate Mr. Mark Atwood, retired gifted teacher and former science teacher in the Nazareth Area School District, to receive the I Touch the Future Award. For many years, I witnessed Mark's tireless energy as he encouraged and exposed students in new ways to science and technology. When I served on the Nazareth Area Science Project, a large science fair was held each year at Bushkill Elementary School. Mark Atwood was there each year, supporting the efforts to bring hands-on science to children and adults of all ages. His various presentations were always interactive and exciting. Mark also worked with me to begin the first Science Olympiad team for the middle school, which is still active today. While a teacher, many times Mark would arrange Saturday outings for anyone who wanted to go with him to explore science in fun ways. He organized students with their parents to carpool to a Delaware beach for the day to participate in a horseshoe crab count, invited others to join in fossil hunts, and shared his enthusiasm for astronomy by bringing others out to look at constellations on clear nights. His interests were always shared with his students, keeping science alive and enticing. Many times, Mark would be gathering students and helping them make pinhole cameras, build and shoot off rockets, explore bike gears, etc., on his own time to help young people enjoy the world of science. He shared his expertise with other professionals as well by presenting at NSTA science conventions many times and served as a resource on various committees. If a fellow teacher was working on a project, Mark would usually come into school with a gadget, an idea, or something he was willing to share to help a lesson. Mark was constantly giving to our students and our district. Anyone who was in Nazareth in the year 2000 would remember him raising money for the Nazareth Area High School Planetarium by biking 45 days across the country, leaving from Grafford, Washington, and ending in Lewis, Delaware. The Nazareth Library had a link to follow Mr. Atwood's journey to keep the community updated. On a personal note, Mark has been a dear friend. During my lung surgery in 2007, Mark spread the word and asked teachers if they wanted to make dinner for me and my family so he didn't have to cook while I recovered. He organized a list for sign-ups. I did not have to cook for 2.5 months after surgery. Wish that was still true. Every other day, meals, including desserts, very good, were brought to my door by a smiling colleague. I will never forget what that meant to me. Mark gives to the community in many ways, with his wife Linda, even hosting refugees from church in their home. I feel that Mark Atwood has certainly touched the future in the Nazareth Area School District and in the Nazareth community and continues to do so. So congratulations.
He wrote a speech for you.
It's long. He's long-winded. Okay. And some of it's a little redundant because Celia mentioned some of the things in her letter to Dr. Riker. And he wrote it, so if it doesn't sound like I would be saying it this way, it's because he wrote it. Dr. Riker, Board of Education members, administration, and the person or persons who he did not know at the time who it was, nominated me for this award. I am truly humbled and honored. Thank you very, very much. Upon being recognized for this award, I would like to extend a thank you to the following. Thank you to the students in grades 4, 6, and 7 who pass through my room each year. Their enthusiasm and curiosity helped create the stage that I performed on each day. Figuratively speaking, it allowed me to pull rabbits out of a hat in order to wow them, generating questions that would morph into group discussions about the whys and hows. I am reminded of the young 4th graders at Lower Nazareth Elementary School in 1989. The topic was the water cycle, and I mentioned that I was going to make it rain in the classroom. The next day, most of the kids walked in wearing their raincoats. And yes, it did rain, using some boiling water and ice cubes in a tray in order to demonstrate the role of evaporation, condensation, and precipitation in the water cycle. Thank you to former students who have touched base with me as young adults, explaining that this science subject or particular lesson helped steer them down the path toward the career they now work in. Wow, what an honor for a former student. You have to wait for about 20 years to experience that kind of feedback, but the wait is worth it. Thank you to the many talented teachers with whom I have worked. The old middle school years were the best. Phenomenal teamwork and cross-curriculum sharing. Conference time was an opportunity for us to share with parents what we saw in the classroom compared to what the parents saw at home. The stories generated a lot of laughter. Thank you to the various building administrators who allowed me to march to the beat of my own drum. I was allowed to do my own thing as long as I could tie it back to the curriculum at the time. I know that over the years I did in fact irritate a few because of the beat of the drum was a little off. So be it. Learning comes in many forms. Moving outside the standard norm of classroom presentation can be risky. I was prepared to take that risk even if it meant failure. The risk allowed for all students to get it. And there were days when my well-planned lessons bombed and I had to go back to the drawing board and do it again. Students did see me fail, but more importantly, they saw that positive lessons can be learned from failure. One has to be real in the classroom. Thank you to the numerous parents who supported me and jumped on board when I offered my after-school or weekend adventures, counting horseshoe crabs in the Delaware, camping in the backwoods at Bushkill Elementary School when I was first hired by the district. I think some of you remember that. Hiking the kids down to Sober's Run to build rock dams in the creek and explore for critters before hiking back up the big hill to have a cookout meal with parents and an evening of stories and s'mores. Testing water quality in small creeks within Jacobsburg Environmental Education Center. This is run on sentence. Pinhole photography. Imagine building your own camera using an oatmeal container and the magic of developing a black and white negative before turning it into a print. Rocket building and blasting them off. The thrill of chasing the rocket as slowly parachuted back to the ground and exploring the riches in the ditches in the spring while spending a weekend at Mallard Lodge down in Delaware. Their easygoing nature and sense of adventure made the trips and excursions possible. I could not have done it without their help and support. Thank you. I would be amiss, this is my part, I would be amiss if I did not include a huge thank you to my wife, Linda. She has put up with me for 18 years as I developed ideas for class lessons. Linda allowed me to bounce ideas off her and keep me grounded and focused. She tempered my crazy enthusiasm and helped me mold ideas into substance for the classroom. I'm extremely grateful for her support. To all, thank you again for this recognition. I am humbled that doing one's job, a job that I loved for 33 years, would be recognized in such a manner. I am truly blessed. Yes, she's worried.
That's fine. Celia, thank you for that nomination, and Linda, thank you for being here with us this evening. Our third nomination for this evening is Mr. Dennis Haun, and the nomination was written by Mr. Joseph Yannick. So, Dennis and Joseph, if you would come up, please.
It's great to see that Dennis is here. He's usually at the Iron Peace games every night, so I'm glad to see him here. Tomorrow night? It is with great pleasure and really the utmost respect that I have to honor Mr. Dennis Haun for I Touch the Future Award. Dennis taught in Nazareth Area School District for 38 years before retiring in 2010. His love for teaching science and the children of Nazareth can be seen in a long list of accomplishments throughout his career. If you ask Dennis about those accomplishments, he would say they weren't accomplishments, but just rather something you just do because it was the right thing to do. He was very humble, cared deeply about the children he taught, and was extremely respected by his peers for his knowledge and wisdom, both in school and in life. As one of his colleagues said, his greatest accomplishment, though, I believe, was and still is his endless giving of time, patience, and knowledge in mentoring and inspiring so many teachers and children. Dennis Haun not only touched the lives of the children he taught, but also the staff he worked with, who in turn were also able to touch even more children. Dennis was Common Core before Common Core became vogue. He allowed students to think more deeply through his classroom discussions. He encouraged them to express their understanding about nature and question their thoughts and actions to make them think and reflect. He was able to find in every child that one thing that turned on that light of knowledge. He did it with such ease that you knew you were watching a master teacher at work. You could say his teaching style was hands-on constructivist. But it was more than that. It was genuine. In his early years, he would teach with his good friend, Mr. Ken Butz, a summer environmental education program. Yes, there was language arts and math. However, the main focus was on the environment that was taught in the woods behind Bushkill Elementary School. That ended with a Thursday night campout, or cookout, I believe. Both. The kids loved it. He started the first live news shows at Bushkill. Teachers came from all over to see how it worked. He was one of the founders of the original Natural Science Project and continues to this day to support the project by coming back to share his wisdom with the students. He organized Environmental Day at Bushkill, brought in Dance of the Honeybees and Earth's Journey, which are still seen today at the intermediate school. He started the district's elementary tutoring program. He would tutor children before school, after school, anytime he could. He designed the gifted program and was the first gifted teacher in the district. He would travel from school to school to meet the students and work with them in many creative projects. Plus, he did many school-based projects and activities such as the Yule log celebration, cooked Thanksgiving dinner, organized trips to the planetarium and Spears Algebra, and established science night. Teachers also benefited. He provided professional development activities for teachers and inspired them to try new things. Held weekend workshops at his Basics Plus teacher store, did workshops at national science conventions, was a fellow at Da Vinci Science Institute, and a professor at Moravian College teaching science for elementary teachers. I'm sure there are many more accomplishments not mentioned if I investigated would increase tenfold. But one thing is clear. Dennis Haun was loved by his students, the parents he served, and the staff with whom he worked. He was thought-provoking and was the most caring and compassionate teacher I ever met. You can say, Dennis touched my life as well.
I really didn't prepare anything because I have a tendency when I start talking, I don't stop. I'm fortunate. I bleed blue and white. I started going here as a student in Nazareth, and I was talking to someone, Mr. Adams back there, about I started at Millgrove Elementary School, the one-room schoolhouse in Nazareth. And Mrs. Kessler was my teacher. Her son was Dr. Kessler, the school doctor for many years. Mr. Adams, by the way, when I started teaching, you were on school board at that time, because I started in '73. Then I went, and we closed that school because I went to Open Bushkill. That was my first jump into a multi-room school. And a lot of people wouldn't realize, but it was kind of cool. They opened that up in the middle of the year. Mr. Blitz, you remember this, that we actually took all the one-room schoolhouses and put them into the rooms for half a year. So my one-room schoolhouse was K through 6, the first year at Bushkill. And my class at Bushkill had 5 first graders. We didn't have kindergarten. So we only had 5 kids in our class. It was kind of cool. Then after Bushkill, I went to the old junior high school, then to the new senior high school. Then Mr. Blitz, who I used to play a lot of pick-me-up basketball with, threw me in with a couple other people after I graduated from college to teach a summer program that he was running. And I loved teaching. And one of the things that happened, after college, I went to seminary. I was going to be a minister. I spent 2 years there. I started working with the kids in club programs, and I loved working with kids. And then he threw me into this, and I loved teaching. So I decided to get into teaching. So after I went back and got my student teaching done, I ended up teaching, my student teaching at Soccertown School, another one that's no longer around. And then after that, I happened to get out of my student teaching. Before the year ended, I went and substitute taught at Academy School for a week. Then I opened up, before we opened up Lower Nazareth, because that was my next school to open up to teach at, we ran a summer program there because we were traveling all around, because that was open concept. And we were running around all over the place. We were out at Penn State, we were out at Millersville learning stuff, and we came back to do a summer program with kids to see how they would like the program. And we did it in Jackson School, the one on the way down. So that's no longer a school, that's a dental office, I believe, or something now. Then after that, I started teaching at Lower Nazareth. We opened that up. Then I got involved with gifted ed also. Mark and I have corresponding careers. And then I started going to all the different schools to do gifted. And I went to Schaefer, and I went to Bushkill, and I went to North Broad, which is no longer a school. So I was there for a while teaching. And later on, I went back up to Bushkill, where I started all this. And I spent a lot of time with Mr. Blitz. And then, of course, along came Mr. Yannick. And I was fortunate because I had a ton of great principals and administrators. And I, too, I echo what Mark said. I was fortunate enough to do it kind of the way I thought kids would learn. And the one thing that I don't like about retiring, I miss teaching. Because I think once you really love working with kids, and working around people who love working with kids, you don't want to really retire from that job. I was fortunate enough to spend my life, 38 years of teaching, doing something I loved. And then it isn't a job, it's a pleasure. Thank you.
Again, Mr. Yannick, thank you for that nomination, and congratulations again. Congratulations to all three of our recipients this evening. I think the board would agree that we have three exceptional gentlemen to recognize this evening. And congratulations to all of you, and thank you for being here this evening. Thank you, Mr. Bradley.
Thank you. Thank you all very much.